Cool. All right, let's get this started. So we have the most amazing guest speaker tonight, and many of you are no stranger of Tyler Tolman. I know that for sure. I know many of you follow him and have even been to his events. I myself have done that. Did a lot with Tyler 5 or 6 years ago. Did a 21-day water fast. Went along to his 3-day retreat weekend over in Melbourne. And and completely healed some really big thyroid issues I was having at the time. So it was phenomenal for me. And so ever since then, what I love about Tyler is that his wisdom goes beyond just food. It's so deep in ancient wisdom, and he's a fasting and detox expert. And I'm not going to say much now, but at the end of the night, I've got a very special announcement for all of you. And particularly those of you who, are looking to detox your bodies, particularly if you need to detox from the Vetox and all those kind of things. So we'll have that conversation at the end of the night, and we've got something special to announce to all of you. But Tyler, for those of you who don't know him, has touched like millions of lives. And I personally know people who have been told, have given, terminal diagnosis and been told they have months to live, with some really severe liver cancers, colon cancers, so many things, diverticulitis, all of these things that have then healed because of Tyler and the work that he does. And so I wanted to bring him on to have a big conversation with all of us, not just about health itself, but about so many things that affect our health that aren't directly related to food itself. And particularly what I always was drawn to Tyler with was the fact that I know, Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong as I say this, but I know you have spent many months, if not years, living in the longest living cultures around the world. I know that you've studied the teachings of Pythagoras and Plato and Einstein and Hippocrates. I know the ancient Egyptians and Tibetans and so many other cultures. And I know you've physically gone and lived with these cultures in their communities, learning a lot of the ancient wisdoms that have intentionally and deliberately been erased and deleted and kept from us, so that we don't know how to heal ourselves, and instead we have to turn to, this idea of the big pharmaceutical industry as a way of saving ourselves, but really making ourselves sicker. So we're going to talk about all of those things tonight. If you are here and you are currently suffering health issues, or if you have children suffering health issues, and that includes all of the, neurodivergent children. I know there's so, the space I work in mostly is conscious parenting. And so we're going to take this conversation tonight directly into being related to our children, because unfortunately, we're the ones that make the decisions on their behalf, but they live the rest of their lives dealing with the consequences of the choices we made when it came to what we fed them and the Panadols and things that we gave them and all of those things. So we're going to open up all that. Nothing is off limits. Heads up, this conversation may be uncomfortable, but that's what we do in the conscious world. We lean into those edges, we meet ourselves in those edges, and we sit with the idea of, why am I feeling uncomfortable about this? So, Tyler, I'm going to bring you straight on because I've got a whole bunch of people over here I need to admit anyway that are waiting. But thank you for making yourself available and for being here tonight to just so generously, I love this about you. You're such a humble man, and, you really are the epitome of someone who truly wants to make a difference and impact the world. I've seen you, go out of your way to speak to people at your events and do things that a lot of other people in your position don't do when it comes to, person to person stuff. So thank you for being here, Tyler. And I will welcome you to this call.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I am loving the Holly effect already. A little bit of nerve there for sure. It's nice to be within a new community kind of space of other people. So yeah, good to see you.
Absolutely.
I'm not popping up on the screen for myself. Maybe I am for you guys. I don't know. I think you can co-spotlight maybe.
I've got you on my screen. Yep, I've got you up as a speaker. Can someone tell us in the chat box if you can see Tyler? Yep, can. Yep.
Yes,
All good.
yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. So I do have to dispel a few myths straight
Please.
away.
Yes.
Uh, it was actually my father who stayed with long-lived cultures of people. I've never actually lived inside of a long culture of people. I also had the beautiful Joy Disney on here. God bless your cotton socks. 35 years ago, I was 9 years old. So you probably saw me a long time ago in Adelaide give a talk for sure, but 35 years was probably a little bit beyond my speaking career. But again, I'm super happy to be here. I'm happy to get into any conversations and go straight to the truth of what I feel in the moment. I don't want to hold back with you guys, so I'm open to any questions, conversations that you want to have.
Mhm.
So just let me know
Beautiful.
where you want to take it.
Well, I want to start because I know the majority of people on the line have come through the conscious parenting audience. I want to start with a conversation around kids because also, making changes in our health while it seems, you know, simple, it never feels easy, particularly because we're, creatures of habit and things like that. And so I would love to open, first of all, just a conversation that around directly related to our kids, because I really do feel this, and I know I see it all the time that people, we always do more for our children than we'll do for ourselves, right? And so what I'd love to do is open up, if we do stay ignorant to the wisdom of our own bodies, and if we don't pass that empowerment onto our children that they can heal themselves, and that nature gives us access to everything we need, what the ongoing effects are of that, because so many of us as parents, we sit here now like, wishing our parents never gave us those things that they did to us, or they had taught us a different way. Of course they didn't know any better, but this is an opportunity for us tonight to actually know better so that we can do better. So as confronting as it is to go there, I would love to open a conversation, or even just hear your perspectives on, as a parent. Yes, it's life is fast and we feel like we're busy, but being able to make health a priority for our children, and not just from a physical health point of view, but even so that they can find who they are and rise in their levels of consciousness, because they don't have this low frequency vibration that holds them down. I don't know. I'm just going to leave that out there and let you go where you feel like you need to with that.
Okay. So you made a comment there that was like a lot of times people will give more to their kids than they will themselves. They'll do more for their kids than they will themselves. How many would you agree with that comment? Like you'll go out of your way, you'll do everything for your kids, but maybe when it comes to yourself, a little bit of loose, whatever, not as committed. So the truth there is the more you do for yourself, the more you actually do for your kids. Okay. If you're doing more for your kids than you are yourself, your kids know. They know you're saying do this and do that, and I want you to be healthy, but I'm going to do this other thing. And our children learn through observation. Our kids are going to do what we do, period. They're going to move the way that we move. They're going to eat what we eat. They're going to say what we say, and they want to do what we do. So if I'm on the phone all the time, my kid's going to grab and want to be on the phone. Right. And it's like if I'm eating certain types of foods, but then trying to get them to eat something completely different, they can smell our bullshit. Okay. And they learn through observation, and they want to be like you. You are like a god to your child. That's the truth. When you were a kid, it was like mom and dad were these huge, giant gods, and they were everything in our lives. And maybe some of us have forgotten that, but that is the actual truth. And I do have 3 kids. I have 2 girls and 1 boy. My boy is 11 months old, and I have a grandson, and my grandson is 5. So I actually have a grandson older than my own son. And I've been around and I've seen the process, and I've raised my kids, and they've been super healthy and onto it. And you learn as you go as well. Okay. I didn't start out the perfect father, and I wouldn't say I'm even the perfect father now. But I've learned a lot along the way, and I do know that regardless of where you're at in your parenting, you know, because a lot of parents have already taught their kids all the bad habits, and the kids are addicted to artificial sweeteners and colors and sugars, and they're addicted to certain types of food because, you know, maybe you're busy, or maybe that's what society told you should give them. And so now they're addicted, and it probably is causing behavioral issues and problems and things that are going on. And it's hard to shift that. And the first thing that I would say is the most important way to shift your children is to shift yourself. As soon as they see you having smoothies, having some juices, eating some fresh fruit, having a big plate of fresh vegetables, going out for walks, going out for bike rides, going to the beach, doing things, getting in the sun, being playful, being more healthy, then they will notice. And at first, they might still want to do what they're doing, but they're going to notice. They're going to take notice and see that you shifted and you've changed, and it's going to have an impact. You know, and I say it all the time, especially if kids already have a certain way of living and they don't want to change, because anytime you want to change them, you know, it's going to be tough. But just the simplicity of you doing the things that are a lot healthier, they're eventually going to come along and be like, hey, maybe I want to give that a try.
Yeah.
You know, and I always use reverse psychology. So it's like, I got my special smoothie and you got your thing. And when my kids are like, oh, can I have some of that? I'm like, nope, this is mine. And I'm talking about the super healthy stuff. I'm like saying, no, you can't have the super healthy stuff. That's for me. No, you can't have it. Nope, you can. Then they're like, come on, just a little bit. And I'll be like, all right, you can have a little bit. And then I'm literally acting as if I don't want them to have much of my smoothie or much of the things that I'm eating. And then it becomes like this, you know, thing where you slowly open up and allow them to have some of the healthy stuff, rather than treating it like, hey, you need to eat this, and, you know, you can only have a little bit of chocolate, or, oh, if you're good, you can have some treats. Like, you know, we really stuff it up sometimes when it comes to wanting our children to be healthy. And yeah, the last thing I was just throw in, and just sort of, you know, just a loop, is like, what you do, they will do in time.
Mm, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's how the subconscious mind works, right? That it subconsciously we think in pictures, and what we see, we do. So, I mean, we just came through 3 years of seeing all of that. But let's shift into your 7, you call them the 7 pillars of health.
7 principles, yes.
Principles of health.
Yep.
I feel like, and I know you're about to go on tour in Australia, and I don't want to, you know, kind of go into what you might be sharing from stage, but I just know the simplicity of your 7 pillars. Even if I remember saying to myself when I first crossed paths with you, you know what, I'm just going to focus on 1 pillar a month, was what I said to myself, because I was just came out of a marriage separation, and, you know, wanted to, I was like, I'm not going to be perfect. I'm just going to be better. That's where I started. And I just told myself, so that I wasn't overwhelmed, I'm going to focus on 1 pillar per month. And then by 7 months, I'll have this whole new life. So, and I found, I mean, it happened a lot faster because they really are very simple, and it's easy to integrate them into your life. So would you like, can you share those 7 pillars?
Let's do this. Type into the chat what you think is absolutely essential for life. What can you not live without? Okay, type it in the chat. Okay, somebody says oxygen, sleep, food, water, breathing, sunshine, silence, air, water, joy. I like it. I like it. And some of you probably know these principles. These are the principles that the longest lived cultures live by. These are also essentials. Okay. So they're called the 7 principles, and principle means like foundational. Okay. These are the things that we can't actually live without. Okay. If you remove any one of these things from an individual, they will either be highly depressed or die. Okay. Number 1, and I will say them in order. Number 1 is air. Okay. We need to breathe. It's kind of obvious. You know, go 10 minutes without it, and you're probably in a very bad position. So air is number 1. And of course, we can go into depth. And I believe that once we gain a lot of consciousness around each one of these, you can take your degree of consciousness and your degree of health higher and higher by getting better and better at each one of these. Okay, and we can unpack that in a little bit if you want, but number one is air. Number two is water. Number three is sunshine. Number four is movement. Number five is whole foods. Number six is relationships. And number seven is passion. And passion includes having a mission in life, having things that you love. Air, water, sunshine, movement, whole foods, relationships, and passion. And this, I have a quiz, and you basically just go onto this thing and you take this quiz, and it'll ask you a series of questions around air, around water, around sunshine, and then it creates a wheel. And your wheel is how you roll through life, rolling through life really healthy, or maybe not so much. And we all know that, sometimes you meet somebody and they just have like 1,000% focus on movement. For example, maybe a bodybuilder or somebody who goes to the gym every day, or somebody who's doing yoga and gym and sport, and it's all about exercise and movement. But maybe when it comes to relationships, they have something called a relationship, maybe with themselves, maybe with other people. And you guys probably know that if you have a major relationship anywhere in your life where there's struggle and pain and anger and frustration and resentment, how many of you believe that's going to have a major negative impact on your health?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So the quiz helps us to identify where we're doing really well and maybe where we haven't even thought. A lot of people maybe eat really good food, maybe exercise, but they never think about hydration, never think about water, maybe never thought about how much water we actually require on a daily basis to be healthy. So, looking at all areas, the idea is let's not just get too caught up in food. Let's not just get too caught up in any one of these principles, but why don't we actually find out which principles we're lacking and put a little bit more energy into the places where maybe we actually need some work. And it just helps you to find the areas that we are lacking and to improve in those areas, essentially. So those are the principles.
Beautiful. Amazing. We have one question on that. Let me just see. How do you work out? Oh, yeah, this is cool. What do you say here, Tyler? How do you work out what you're passionate about? What's a good method to work it out or refine your knowing of what you're passionate about? You come to this retreat, Zeta.
So this passion is a great one. I see that as a multiplicity of words within one. And if you look at it, there's two words in there, pass, ion. Ion is actually a unit of energy. Ions are actual units of energy that create life force, okay, and health. And passing ions, it happens when we have this overwhelming feeling of joy. Typically, when you're doing something you're passionate about, you're not thinking about eating food, okay, unless food is your passion. But when you're in that passion of food, there's just this energy and vibration and you're loving it. Typically, time collapses. Okay, to give you an example, this morning I gave a 2.5-hour presentation standing up in front of a computer, looking at a screen. And I was absolutely dumbfounded because I looked at the clock. It was 2.5 hours. I was finishing up the presentation. And I was literally like, I swear to God, I just started this 10 minutes ago. I'm like, how have I been standing here for 2.5 hours giving a presentation? Okay, so time collapses. We have this feeling of, man, it gives us joy. It's something that, you just know it. You can't tell someone what they're passionate about, but you observe it. Whenever you're doing that thing, you have abundance going on. Now, it's important to explore a multiplicity of different sports and hobbies and genres and doing so many different things to potentially discover what our passions are. And what I would say is like, we probably have a multiplicity of things that we're passionate about and love. And a great way to discover maybe what those are is if I were to just take you to a party of lots of different kinds of people with all kinds of different conversations, what's the conversation that if people were having, you'd get excited and want to be inside that conversation? Or what conversation do you think you would end up having some information and being able to share, and people be like, oh, wow, you know something about this? That will probably inform some of the things that you're passionate about. And I'm a believer that whatever it is you're passionate doing, you just need to do more of that, because that's giving you the energy and the ions by doing it more consistently. Okay. Now, I had a guy come to me years ago, like, Tyler, this is bullshit. I know what my passion is, but I have to work 8 hours a day just to make money to do my passion on the weekends or whatever. He was all caught up, and I was like, and I called him on bullshit. I said, actually, that's bullshit. That's a belief. I believe 1000% if you just dropped everything and went and rode your bike, because that's your passion's riding your bike, just go ride your bike. Quit your job, go ride your bike, and just keep doing that and be passionate and see what happens. That's a bold statement. This guy started riding his bike. He did what I said. He just started riding his bike. And as he's riding his bike, he's having all kinds of downloads and thoughts. He starts recording videos. He starts posting the videos. He starts building a YouTube channel. I see the guy in Adelaide. No doubt. In Adelaide, I saw this guy years later. He's making over 10 grand a month from his YouTube channel alone, just sharing his bike riding experiences, talking about his bike, all the things that he does to fix it, the different types of bikes, sustainable bikes, and also nutrition, and talking about his passion for what he eats and what he does to ride his bike all freaking day.
Amazing. How healing, just that.
So I know it sounds crazy, and I'm not going to tell you guys just go quit your job and go ride a bike. And whatever it is you're passionate about, I believe if you put yourself more into those situations of experiencing that passion, you may start to discover that whatever it is you do for a living, whatever job, whatever other thing, it becomes easier. It becomes more enjoyable. You start to become a different person within that. And I believe that also you may start to discover how to do more of what you're passionate about and less of the things that maybe you're just doing to make some money, if that makes sense. And I've got plenty of examples, just like what I just said, because I used to run retreats teaching about passion, and people would challenge me all the time. I'm just going to do it. I had a woman say that she was passionate about travel. Same thing. I have to work all year, so I get one vacation a year and I get to go travel. And I asked her the question in front of a bunch of people, well, what's your favorite place? And I wrote it up on a board. I wrote down the place, and I was like, well, tell me about that place. And she started to literally unpack the museums, the locations, the places, information behind it. And I was writing it all down on this big, it's called a Post-it note session. So I wrote on Post-it notes, and I was putting up, and what's another place you love? And where have you been? And this place and that place. And I basically said, look, you are the passion that just rolled through you. You're a travel agent. You need to be taking people to these places. I'm not even kidding you. This same woman started taking people on tours around the world and started doing it for a living, started doing very well doing it for a living. I don't know what happened to her in 2020. Probably wasn't good. But I think you guys get it. So I do this piece also where I draw a little image of a bee, and I ask people, what is it? And they're like, oh, it's a bee. And I draw a flower, and oh, there's a flower. And why does the bee go to the flower? And everybody says to pollinate. And I say, no, the bee goes to the flower to get its nectar, because it loves nectar, and it's sweet and it's beautiful, and it has this orgasmic experience just getting the nectar out of the flower, and it feeds itself, and it actually goes back and makes honey for the rest of the hive. In the process of doing what it loves, pollen sticks to it. And in fact, that pollen is probably annoying. But we would all say the purpose of a bee is to pollinate. Okay, so a lot of times when you're doing the things that you're passionate about, there might be little annoying stuff that you kind of have to deal with in that process, and you might be fulfilling your purpose within that. How many of you got what I just said? So what I say is follow your nectar, follow the thing that gets you moving, gets you doing abundance. It's the thing that if I could give you $1 million and say you can only spend this on creating a business that you could live off of for the rest of your life, what would it be? Something that you would show up every day for, and it would feel like you're not working a day in your life. And you might have to think long and hard and meditate, but if you actually had the money and there was only one thing you could do, like figure out what that is and then pretend I gave you the money and do it anyway.
Yeah. I want to use that as a segue because lots of people feel like they know what they're passionate about, but then the fear of moving in that direction or leaving the life that they've convinced themselves they're comfortable in. And this is where I feel like it all rolls into one, because something that I also talk about is that when you clean up your body and when you clean your body, it automatically cleans your mental state, and then your ability. And when you remove toxins and chemicals from your life and fluoride, and you stop calcifying your pineal gland and all these things, you then have the ability to actually make decisions and you don't have to try to find a way to be confident or to work on your fears. It's incredible how they dissipate when you become really conscious of all the choices you're making, but in particular, treating your body like a temple. For me personally, before I do any retreat, I fast. I water fast for minimum 3 to 5 days leading up to that. And that is only because I want to be in my clearest state when I'm there, that I can just download and channel and so can you speak to that for everybody? Because
you basically just walked through the 7 principles. Like,
oh.
when you're in fear of something, make sure you're breathing good, clean air and breathing deeply. And that brings you back to presence and clarity. And there's probably some exercises of breathing that have a profound effect on making us clear. Okay. Drink clean water so that clean water comes in and cleans everything out. Get out into the sun. Vitamin D is a major factor for clarity and hormones and balance. The right types of movements. I'm sure your group all knows when you go exercise, you push yourself, there's a level of like endorphins that come in, a level of clarity that shows up. You go for a long run, you go for a long bike ride, you go for a hike out in nature, you go for a walk, and it's like there is this clarity that comes in. So in order to overcome the fear, it's about being clean and all of these things. And like you said, fasting before a program. All of the greatest of philosophers and well-known people of the past were known to fast for extended periods of time. So, Pythagoras, known as the father of numbers and sacred geometry, he was known to fast 40 days at a time. He went to Egypt at 18 years of age and stayed for 22 years. He had to fast for 40 days just to gain entrance. He did that multiple times. He's known as the father of geometry, the inventor of the scale of music, put together the 7 octaves of music, did amazing things, was also lead champion 3 years in a row in his 40s in the Olympics, Greco-Roman wrestling. Plato was known to fast for extended periods, Socrates, Moses, Jesus, Elijah, Gandhi, Muhammad. Like you list any well-known individuals, men and women, of which there are many, and you'll find that they were typically taking time out at least once a year to go deep into introspection and to gain clarity and discovery of oneself.
Absolutely. We have a question here on that note. What's the prep before a fast? It's a great question.
That is a great question, and it depends on the length and what kind. So anyone could do like a 2 to 3 day fast. Okay. Let's say you just want to have a little bit of a reset, heal your digestive system a little bit, drop a couple kilos maybe, and just have the experience. Within 12 hours after you stop eating, your body goes into what's called nutritional ketosis. So let's say I have dinner at 6 o'clock and then I don't allow myself to have any calories or any sugars or anything, just like water or tea from then on, 6 o'clock at night. by 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm already going into a level of ketosis. That means that my body's going to start running on a little bit of fat. Okay. When your body starts to run on a little bit of your own fat through ketosis from not eating, I'm not talking about the ketogenic diet, I'm talking about fasting. When you go into ketosis because you haven't had any calories, when your body breaks down fat, we start making what are called stem cells. Stem cells are like a free cell that's floating through the body, just looking for a weak or dead cell. And if we have weakness in any cells in the body, the stem cell can take its place. It has something called pluripotency. It can become any other cell of the body. So in the first 24 hours, within 12 hours, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm starting to get nutritional ketosis. If I still continue to not eat, more of these stem cells start to get generated. The stem cells can be used within my digestive system to heal my gut. Okay, there's this guy named Hippocrates who said all disease begins in the gut. Mm. So the more we go through the process of actually stopping eating and allowing the digestive system to heal itself, the better off our gut and digestion and assimilation of nutrition is going to be. And that starts at 12 hours. Most people never go 12 hours without food or calories, okay, or sweetener of some kind. And this is why disease is so prominent, because the release of stem cells doesn't happen until after 12 hours. Okay, now over time doing this, depending on your body type, and we could talk more about that, within about 14 to 16 hours, your body enters a phase called autophagy, also called autophagy, which means to automatically digest. So all of our cells, which are always taking in glucose and making energy and taking things in, all of a sudden stop the process of just making energy and constantly digesting and growing and doing what it's doing, and they start to clean themselves out. Okay, I'm talking about 14 to 16 hours. So if you ate dinner at 6 o'clock at night, now I'm talking about maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, if you're willing to go that long without food, by about 10 o'clock in the morning, especially if you exercise, long walk, any type of exercise in the morning. By about 10 o'clock in the morning, now the body's going to start regenerating itself. And I'm talking about every single cell of your body. And you have over 76 trillion of those cells that now start to clean themselves out. This is the way the body eliminates visceral fat. This is a way to improve what's called insulin sensitivity, which is associated with longevity. This is the way for every cell to start to restructure and heal itself. And if you push beyond that, then let's say you go 24 hours. And I know this is totally outside of the question, but we're getting to that. At 24 hours, you're in full ketosis. Okay, and this is most people. If you got a lot of digestive stuff in your digestive system, if you got a lot of excess weight, if you're really fat, let's just face it, that might not happen for a bit longer because your body's still digesting food. But usually within 24 hours, you're in full ketosis. Your body's fully making stem cells. Within 48 hours, there's an enzyme called PKA that gets shut down that allows stem cells to regenerate your body outside of the digestive system. That means that any fast that you've ever done in your entire life will only work on mainly healing your digestive system when it comes to stem cells. Anything you do beyond 48 hours will now start to regenerate your eyes, your brain, your thyroid, your heart, your liver, your kidneys, and every other organ inside of your body, depending on where it needs it. Okay, now there's practices that we can incorporate that target different organs and can actually assist with these stem cells structuring. That's probably a good conversation for another time. But after 48 hours is where some real magic starts happening and your body starts to regenerate. At 72 hours, your cells go into self-protection and regeneration, meaning that a lethal dose of poison, I'm talking about like if you injected somebody with poison, okay, or let's just say you drank some poison and you would die within 10 or 20 minutes. Within 72 hours of a water fast, your cells become permeable, and the same lethal dose of toxicity now does nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, this is insane research. This is the University of Southern California. If you want to research Professor Longo, they're injecting mice and rats and animals with lethal doses, poor rats and animals, but they're injecting them with lethal doses and they die within 20 minutes. And then they'll fast them for 48 to 72 hours, 72 hours for humans, and nothing happens. They'll inject them with a lethal dose of toxicity and nothing happens. They're applying this research to actual cancer patients that are receiving lethal doses of chemotherapy. And what I've been doing for many years following this research is working with people who have stage 4 cancers that have already made the decision to go get chemotherapy. I'll work with them and their oncologists and design a fasting program that mitigates the toxicity of the chemotherapy. And
Wow.
what the research is showing is that it weakens cancer cells. The body already starts to reduce and eliminate cancer, and then it becomes permeable to toxicity, like it doesn't affect the cells, and then people are getting chemotherapy and eradicating cancer. Now, the researchers that are doing this are saying, well, what if we just kept fasting instead of doing the chemotherapy? And of course, now they're starting to find out, well, actually, your immune system is completely reset within 72 hours. If you go into hot rooms like a sauna for extended periods of time, then there's something called heat shock proteins that tag cancer cells that previously couldn't be identified. The body starts to kill off cancer. So the question was, how do I prep? And the answer is anywhere from 2 to 3 days, you don't need to. Okay. And there's a lot of benefits that will happen within 2 to 3 days. Okay. And this is just referred to as intermittent fasting. That means that you can be eating and doing whatever you want Monday through Friday. And of course, I have recommendations of what to eat and how to do. But the truth is, you could be eating and doing whatever you want. And if you just started fasting Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there are massive benefits that come from that, even if you have no clue what you're doing. Okay. And there's a doctor from the UK that did a documentary called Eat Fast and Live Longer, Dr. Michael Mosley. Okay. And I'm just going to say it. The guy's a freaking idiot. And he decides that he's going to go prove to the world that he's healthy and why his diet's the best. And he went to the United States to the greatest, like, scientific people who know what causes disease and especially cancer. And he's like, I want you to test me and prove to the world that I'm healthy. And they took his blood and they measured different markers in his blood. And they said, actually, these markers, specifically one called IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor number 1, is so high that your body is probably growing cancer at a rate faster than most of the population. And if you don't already have cancer, you will probably within the next 10 years. And this guy just like, what? I thought I was healthy. You're telling me like I'm probably growing cancer? And they're like, yes, you're actually at the higher end of cancer risk than most people. So this just completely slapped him in the face. And he's like, well, what do I have to do? And they're like, well, number one, you have to change your diet and then the IGF-1 and everything will regulate and you'll be healthier. And he's like, oh, well, I don't want to do that. Is there anything else I can do? And they said, yes, we've discovered that if you do 48 hours of water only fasting, it'll cut your IGF-1 in half and your blood chemistry regulates and it will change the markers that grow cancer. And he's like, well, I like that option much better. So he actually did a 3-day water fast, fully documented, called Eat Fast and Live Longer. And what do you think he broke the fast with?
Oh no.
Bacon.
What?
Not even kidding you. And he was so happy because his IGF-1 was cut in half and his blood was in a different place. And you can go watch the documentary. And I'm just sitting there the whole time like, I cannot even believe this person's like making a documentary about health and breaking a 3-day water fast with bacon. But this is years ago. Now I can believe it because, bacon's healthy, right? Bacon and butter is the new health.
Mm.
And that might trigger a few people.
Yes, sorry, just on that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I remember learning from you is that you always break a fast with fruit. And I remember you said, because when I came to your thing in Melbourne, I was on day 18 of my 21-day water fast at that time. And I asked you specifically, like, what should I break my fast with? And the reason I did a big long fast, and I would love for you to touch on this, is I asked a question at your original thing that I went to, and I said, if I want to heal my thyroid, how long should I fast? And I remember you going through like something like for the immune system, it's 3 days. For anything skin related, it's this many days. You told me it needed to be a minimum 10 days, but for the endocrine system, the hormone system, but you encouraged me for 21 days. Anyway, then when I broke my fast, you said, go to the wherever you go shopping, supermarket, whatever, and let your body tell you what to break the fast with. And two things. I just craved tomato, like craved tomato. Like a tomato spoke to me. So I broke my fast with the tomato. And I had never, ever before liked or wanted to eat avocados. And I was drawn to avocado. And I had some, yeah, I know. And I remember you telling me about, the doctrine of signatures and how an avocado takes 9 months to grow on a tree and it looks like a womb and it's got a little baby inside and, all of this. Anyway, and now I am obsessed with avocados. So can you share with everybody? There's two things. Number one, I would love for you to share, whatever system, however many days, or do whatever fast it needs. That was really helpful for me. And then people are asking, what do you do for kids? Because I know you can't fast children or the elderly. I saw your post the other day about who can't fast. So when kids have got gut problems, and we know they've got gut problems caused, let's just be real, 100% by fucking vaccinations and pharmaceuticals, like literally. So what do we do?
Yeah, so as you guys can see, I take a long time to answer simple questions. And I haven't even answered the first question, which was, what do I have to do to prepare for a fast? So what I was basically trying to get to is all the benefits of fasting in the first 3 days. And with 3 days, you don't really need a lot of prep. I do recommend eating a higher degree of plant-based nutrition for its fiber, for its antioxidants. And when I say plant-based, I mean like fresh. I don't mean processed food. I mean like eating fresh fruit, eating fresh vegetables, eating more salads, eating actual real food, because the fiber is going to push out all the crap that you don't want in there when you're going to do a fast. Now, the longer you're going to fast for, the more important the preparation becomes. Okay, so in the case of someone like Holly who wants to reset her thyroid, I've had many women reverse Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune condition of the thyroid. I've had women grow back their thyroid after having it surgically removed. I've had women that had radioactive iodine to destroy their thyroid, still grow it back, and still produce T4 and T3 hormones themselves. Okay, so the thyroid is one of these organs that can regrow and start working again in a very profound way. It's unfortunate that every time that starts happening, the doctors just want to cut it out again because they have this strong belief it'll only be cancer, which is not the truth if you change your lifestyle. If you want to do a 10-day fast or more, then I recommend a minimum of 4 days of preparation. And those 4 days of preparation are going to be solely based on clearing your digestive system out. Okay. Yes, I have a product. It's called Colon Cleanse. It's a natural mix of seeds and clay and other things that Native American cultures and others used and people have used for thousands of years. You basically eat this mix for 4 days straight, and it completely strips and cleans out your digestive system the way it was meant to be cleaned out. And the clay removes pesticides and heavy metals and other types of things that would also make your fasting experience pretty toxic. And depending on your degree of toxicity is your ability to fast. So if you're very toxic, fasting you'll feel sick and you'll feel like you're going to die. So especially when you're going to do longer fasts, it's important to clear the digestive system out, have a bit of detox prior. For the programs that I run, I'm typically pushing people to do 3 to 4 weeks of a water-only fast for major chronic disease. Okay, and I've got a list of stage 4 cancers, autoimmune conditions, every condition you can possibly imagine for the last 15 years, running programs and specifically working with people with degenerative and chronic diseases, completely reversing these conditions when they do extended fasting, because it gives the body enough time to actually fully repair and regenerate, especially your liver, kidneys, etc., with these stem cells that start circulating after the 3 days. For extended fast, you need like a full month of preparation. And I recommend going on to a plant-based diet. I recommend eating lots of fruit, having smoothies, lots of veggies. And the closer you get to the fast, the more you increase the fresh fruits, the fresh vegetables, start cutting back on the cooked foods, and especially eliminating animal foods and processed foods. So anything that's processed, anything that's dead as far as an animal, because there's no fiber, it tends to move slowly through your digestive system, and that will auto intoxicate certain individuals if they have, chicken, fish, cow, pig, something like that sitting in their digestive system when they do an extended water fast. Okay, so clearing all that out is very important. Somebody just posted a link there. That link also, just so you guys know, has nothing to do with me or my father. It's actually
Yes,
somebody else.
I remember.
Just so you know.
Yeah,
The
it's so
website is just tylertolman.com.
yeah.
But thank you for sharing. No problem. So it depends on the length of time. The longer you're going to fast for, the more you need to prep. And the reason for the prep is if you do the preparation correctly, the fast actually becomes somewhat easy and enjoyable. If you don't do the preparation, you are going to suffer. And, when I say that, some people, no matter what they do, they can do well. And some people, no matter what they do, will suffer and have more problems. Extended fasting, I always recommend having support or being coached or going somewhere. It's really hard to fast in the environment we got sick in. It's really hard to fast where we're used to eating. It's really hard to fast when you have people around you saying negative things about it. Like creating a positive, safe, like healing environment is actually very important. Now, the thing that Holly was referring to, for our endocrine system specifically, you can get a minor reset of your hormones with only 3 days of water fasting, which means that your hormones have an increase. You'll have better adrenaline if you have fatigue or even chronic fatigue. You'll have better production in thyroid hormone, even from your thymus, your pituitary. You'll have actually some healing that takes place, but you get a major reset of your endocrine system around 10 days. Now, we have to realize that everybody's metabolism is a little bit different. Some people are going to take a little bit longer, some people a little bit quicker, depending on metabolism, especially. But around 10 to 14 days is the recommendation for somebody with a reproductive or endocrine system issue, thyroid problem, pituitary, adrenal problem. I've had people with diagnosed chronic fatigue syndrome, especially people with chronic fatigue syndrome or just fatigue in general, are always told by everyone, doctors, naturopaths, nutritionists, to never do a fast. And you'll know this if you have chronic fatigue. Everybody says never do a fast, you'll make it worse. And they are all absolutely wrong. 100% the opposite. What you actually need is a full endocrine system reset. Okay, and I have people that diagnose chronic fatigue syndrome, looking at their cortisol, morning cortisol, absolutely tanked, can't even get out of bed, that do the fast, and yes, they suffer through it because they're already suffering anyways. And within about 7 days, starts to shift. Within about 2 weeks, completely changes. I've had young girls, teenagers, older people go through the process, completely reverse chronic fatigue syndrome with extended water fasting. And there's a piece there that we talked about earlier, saying that kids can't fast. We have to be really careful what we say online and be mindful. It's pregnant women and children are a very sensitive subject. Okay. And the truth is, fasting is the greatest way to heal for everyone. You would never you'd never force a woman that's pregnant to do an extended fast. Okay. But a lot of women, when they start their pregnancy, start fasting because they get morning sickness and the body heals and regenerates and things reset. Sometimes they'll fast on, they can only eat a little bit of fruit, or they can only have some broth or tea, and they're puking all the time every time they eat. And that's because the body is actually going through a major detoxification to prepare itself for a baby. Again, you would never push somebody to do that. And they need to listen. A woman needs to listen to her intuition and feel into this. And, of course, when hunger returns and she's hungry and wanting some food, then yes, choose healthy foods. For children, my own sister got very sick when she was about 5 years old, and she went into hospital, and the doctors wanted to feed her through a tube. And my father said, absolutely not. You will not feed my daughter through a tube. If she doesn't want to eat, she will not eat. And my dad, every single day, brought her watermelon, brought her grapes, brought her yogurt, brought her different foods, and she just refused to eat for 40 days.
Wow.
Yeah, a 5-year-old little girl who is chronically sick, potentially going to die, refused to eat. And my dad would not force it. And I think it was the 40th or the 41st, she started to eat grapes. And I can tell you, within a couple weeks, she was plump, healthy, fully back, doing amazing things. Now, you got to understand that that was a self-imposed fast.
Mm.
Okay, so kids get sick, kids get the fever, kids get majorly sick, and they don't want food, but we're parents. So what do? Got to get your strength up, got to have chicken soup, got to have this, got to have that. And the kids are like, get away from me. And then they're like, okay, well, if you say so, maybe I'll eat a little bit. But really, what we should be doing is supporting the body's natural processes and listening to the intuition of the child, allowing the child to go through the process that they are naturally going through. And of course, trying to make sure they're hydrated, of course, offering maybe some fresh fruits because of the level of antioxidants, because of the hydration factor of fruit alone. Or if it be broth or a little bit of vegetable soup or whatever it is, that's fine if it's desired. But sometimes we need to get over our own stuff and allow the fasting process in nature to take place.
Mm.
A fever is a very natural process, and every child will go through it. It's how our bodies inform itself of the environment and how to mobilize the immune system. Every child at some point, very young, is going to get a fever. The most dangerous thing of a fever is just making sure the brain doesn't get too hot. So you can use a cold rag. It's called the cold rag method, been around for thousands of years. If the child's too hot, you can get into a cool shower and cool them off. And this is the truth. And I've been through it, and it's scary. And we will all doubt it. When my kids were young and got the fever, I'm like, oh my God, am I just being stupid? Am I caught up in a health cult? Should I go get the drugs and just give it? Even I was in that moment of like, shit, should I like take my kid to the doctor? Should I use the drugs? And I was just like, no, I trust, I give love, I keep their head cool, I trust. And before you know it, they come out the other side and they're healthier for it, and their immune system is stronger for it. And I didn't use antibiotics and I didn't use drugs, because as soon as you start to bring these things in, every time they start to get sick, it's like, oh, just use the drugs, just use the drugs. And they're not relying on their own immune system. You're weakening them and making them literally a customer to the pharmaceutical industry for the rest of their lives. And this is the thing, they get them as soon as they come out, as soon as they're out of the womb. There are a lot of vaccines that have no efficacy whatsoever. And why would you ever give a vaccine to a child for a sexually transmitted disease in the first 6 months of life? It doesn't make sense at all. And the only reason they do it, because as soon as that child comes out, if I can jab them and they don't die or have a major reaction, we hope, and luckily most kids are, have enough going on that we get through it, the more likely you are to come back and get the next set of vaccines if they did it right at birth. Because if you already did it, why would you deny it later? Unless you notice one eye goes this way or something, signs and things change and it actually causes vaccine damage, those are the people that are anti-vaxxers. Because they saw the child healthy, perfect, coming out, getting jabbed with 10 or 20 different things, and then having problems. And, it's a tough subject, but there's also a lot of parents that just like, you just had a baby, it's your first one, you have no idea what's going on. They rip the baby away, they take it into a room, they jab it full of shit, and they give it back, and you're just like trying to recover from a massive traumatic experience that just happened inside of a hospital. And you don't even start to think about these things until later, potentially. So I know I'm kind of, running into some different subjects here, but I hope it's
There's a,
received.
there's a really good question here from by Bronwyn a little while ago. She said, "How long after chemotherapy would those toxic byproducts still be stored in the liver, etc., and potentially released in a fast?"
Years. And I've taken people with the exact same condition. I'll give you one example. I had a man with stage 4 lymphoma called follicular lymphoma, and I had a woman with stage 3 follicular lymphoma, the same condition around the same time. Okay. I believe the woman came to the program after the man. The man refused all treatment. His name is Jamie Carlin. I've got all his bloods, everything you can see. Stage 4 follicular lymphoma. No medical treatment, no drugs, nothing. He did a 4-day colon cleanse, 21-day water fast with me in Bali, mental, emotional, physical, all the stuff. 8 months later, actually, it was 2 months after the program. I worked with him for 8 months. The program was 6 months after we started. But essentially, after the program, he went back to his oncologist. All his blood markers were perfect, and he said he had spontaneous remission. Okay. So after a 30-day program, 21-day water fast, a couple months later, spontaneous remission, supposedly no more cancer. Now, this guy went on 5 years without a return of cancer, which is considered a cure by the medical industry. The woman with the same condition, stage 3, had chemotherapy the first time, okay, and that supposedly worked. But then it came back, and it came back with a vengeance. Okay, but still, they considered it stage 3 when she came to me. And doing the fasting program, she did a 21-day water fast. And towards the end of the 21 days, she started to detox from chemotherapy, which caused edema symptoms, which you use like castor oil compresses and lymphatic massage and a bunch of different things to remove edema. She ended up detoxing from chemotherapy for a good 3 to 6 months, not only just with me. She detoxed a lot. We refed her. She was feeling amazing, but she was still in that phase of like detoxing from chemotherapy when she came out of it. She went and did some other retreats, still detoxing from chemotherapy. So from that situation, what I learned is if you have a major condition, you fast, you can heal yourself pretty quickly. If you have a major condition and you treat it with, especially like chemotherapy, and maybe not done with a situation of fasting and protecting the body, like I talked about earlier, the body does hold on to these things. And when you fast, your body will detox, and the detoxification process of chemotherapy is almost probably just as bad as the actual chemotherapeutic treatment. And you really need to support detoxification, defecation, urination, perspiration, respiration. And you have to detox from the chemo and then recover, and then eventually fast and detox and heal the actual condition. So it's like when you take the drug, you have to go back and get rid of the drug and then go through the process of healing rather than just healing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I absolutely know you still can. I've had plenty of women with stage 4 breast cancer, had plenty of women with uterine cancer, lymphomas, all kinds of things, brain lesions, that have done chemotherapy, actually brain lesions caused from chemotherapy, and then gone through the process and completely healed themselves. But there will be times that they have these big detoxification of the chemo or drugs, and those are like struggle street. That's where a lot of people, if you don't have the willpower to go through it, they end up going back and getting more medical treatment, or they end up giving up because they can't deal with the detoxification. But it is important to get through that detox phase. There's a lot of little conversations that probably need to be had, because you can control the level of detoxification through fasting. Water fasting is the highest degree of detoxification. Juice fasting would mitigate a little bit. If you're detoxing too much, you could bring in juices. And of course, you can, do even sometimes soups and things. And then there's actually consumption of fruits, which will still be fasting, but a lesser form of fasting, fruits and smoothies. And then you can stop detoxification by adding in, cooked foods, regular foods, etc., if that makes sense. If you need to back off the level of detoxification that's happening.
Absolutely. Look, there's so many questions going on. I want to say a couple of things here. I'm going to ask you one more before we close off the night, but because everyone's going in different directions, and I feel like we could sit here for 6 hours and still not be done. And it's amazing. I love how engaged everyone is. So thank you for your questions. And I see people talking about parasites and all of these things. And a lot of you were asking before, that you're saying it's hard to get through the first couple of days when you fast because you feel so irritable and so grumpy and all of these things. And yeah, I mean, yes. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler, but the more full of shit you are, the more full of pharmaceuticals, medicines, that kind of stuff you are, the worse your detox process is.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I thought so. So Tyler is coming on tour, and this is where we have a couple of things to announce to all of you, because he is going on tour. What's your first place, Tyler? I know you're coming to Adelaide on the 11th. Where do you start?
Yeah, we're doing Perth, Adelaide, and then Brisbane, and then Melbourne, and I'm doing a little side gig in Sydney, and then back to Bali.
Oh, you are going to Sydney. Okay, cool. So Tyler is going around Australia, and like, I urge you, whatever plans I don't even know what you could possibly have in your calendar that could be more important at being in front of because it's one thing to be at the right place at the right time. It's still another thing to be at the right place at the right time and make the right decision and get the right information and, take the right action. And so being in an environment is so different to just getting information off the internet. Like being in the collective vibration, of everyone who was aligning with and receiving the truth and the wisdom. And this is the thing that I noticed, like particularly listening to yourself and your dad, Tyler, is that as you speak, I feel like it's not even a process sometimes of learning what you're saying. It's like a remembering. It resonates so freaking deeply. It's like somewhere in me, I knew that. And, I feel like that is so transformational in our lives, because you can either change through space repetition, doing something, consistently enough, or by emotional impact. And so Tyler is offering anybody on this call tonight. We have a special discount. If you haven't already booked your tickets to go see him in your state, do that. If you use the coupon code The Holly Effect, I'll put this up in a moment, or I'll put it down here, like just all one word, The Holly Effect. You will get your ticket for $33, right? $33 to be there in the room, in the vibration of all of this, so that you can receive much more deeply than you do at like a knowledge level, watching a movie or reading a book or something like that. So I could not stress highly enough to make sure that you take responsibility, because again, it's one thing to be on this call. It's another thing to take responsibility to do something after this call and to pay attention to the things that triggered you or the questions that you had, and how motivated you were to ask all these questions. So use the Holly Effect to be able to get a discount on your ticket. And in addition to that, I have something called the Conscious Community, and that's, we've been running that for nearly 2 years now. And every single month we do an online workshop, and it's on a different topic all the time relating to consciousness, all different topics. I'll show you in a moment. And in April, Tyler is coming exclusively for that community. It's $24 a month to be part of this community. We have phenomenal guest speakers like Tyler. He'll be coming back in April, and we're covering detox from the Vetox. I'm gonna edge in a topic there, Tyler. I really want you to talk about iridology and sclerology. I just love, like, now, ever since I learned it from you, when I talk to people and I see these squiggly red lines in their scleras, I'm like, I feel like I need to. I don't know what it means. I always forget, the areas, but at the same time, it was such. I remember hearing that information and then going to my bathroom mirror and like looking at my eye to see like what area of my body was struggling and had some toxicity, and the squiggly lines at the end, and if ever I see one of those dots in someone's eye at the end of a line, I'm like, oh no, I think you might have cancer, but I don't know how to tell you. Anyway, It was phenomenal. And this is the kind of information that you will learn with Tyler. And he'll be coming back in our community in April. And we're going to have 2 hours with him on that workshop. And for those of you that just felt forced and for whatever reason, you felt like you had to take the vaccine that now got ruled as unlawful, how you can get that out of your body. How can you share with people you love about? Maybe you didn't take it, but maybe people you love did. But in addition to that, regardless, spike proteins, all those things were around it. I think what COVID gave us all as a blessing was it really brought us into such higher awareness of our health and of our immune systems and of what fear does to our body. So Tyler, if you don't mind just covering before we finish tonight, we have to go into the topic of pharmaceuticals. Like, we absolutely have to, because it's one thing to eat good, but if you're doing all these things and still putting these toxins in your body. But I also understand some people are on medications that could be life-threatening, or they're so scared to cut it back and get off it. I don't know what you can say here in a few minutes, or without going deep into this topic. I know it's not something that you can really cover on a shallow level, but what can you offer to those that are currently every day taking medication, sleeping pills to get to sleep, whatever else, melatonins, anything, whether it's something high on prescription or whether it's even just something like melatonin?
Yeah, well, I would say that your condition is not a lack of pharmaceutical drugs. So pharmaceutical drugs are not going to fix your condition. And in fact, all pharmaceutical drugs are made from petrochemicals. Okay, you can look this up. Just look up the word petrochemicals. 99% of all pharmaceutical drugs are made from petrochemicals. All petrochemicals contribute to cancer and are toxic. All petrochemicals. Just look up petrochemicals and cancer, and it says they contribute to the faster and higher growth of cancer. Petrochemicals, this is why 1 in 2 people in Australia will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. This is why cancer is skyrocketing, because people run to the pharmaceutical industry every time something shows up. And what I just would like you to know is that I believe personally, 99% of the time, you can get into a healthy situation of eventually leaving those pharmaceuticals aside and using Mother Nature's apothecary for healing. The only times where you may actually need to rely on pharmaceuticals, if you've completely lost your thyroid, you don't have the capacity to produce thyroxine. And even then, there are plants and there are alternative forms that you can use. And ultimately, if you are willing to eat the healthiest lifestyle, it wouldn't be required. But I do understand that there are some things that the pharmaceutical industry has developed that can be positive. It's not all bad. Okay, there are some things that they do that are still good, and especially in emergency situations. But like I said, most of the time, you're just getting onto a drug to deal with the symptoms, and it's going to make things worse over time. I'd be happy to go into specific pharmaceuticals and why it's better to take an alternative route and what the pharmaceuticals specifically do. Probably not time for that here. Again, I feel like it's been 10 minutes and we're already, running out of time. I'd be more than happy to stick around and answer questions. I've seen some questions that have come through, but I want to let Holly kind of filter out and ask any questions that you want to ask now, or we can save that for another time when we do have a couple of hours and maybe go directly into some of the questions. One thing I would say about the tour is a structured form of education and teaching guys some things. So I do believe it's good to come into the situation and have that kind of foundation and unpack things a little bit at a time. Here, we're just kind of like, hey, what about this? And we're just going off, which is nice. But I'd love to see you guys on tour and let you have that experience of learning all the little intricacies and the why and how to of healing yourself. And then, of course, jump on at a later date and spend some more time answering your specific questions that you have.
I know, Tyler, I'm going to ask you one more here. In a short answer, what age we've been taught that, like, 80 is a good life. Like when you're 80, you're old. Like it's almost like we just live with an expectation that life ends somewhere around 80. And this tour is a longevity tour, and it's about how to, and look, for a lot of people, they don't even want to live past 80 because they don't have their passion. They're living a life that they basically hate. And
Yes.
so I get that. But if we were to truly live consciously, incorporating the 7 principles of health and being very aware of the choices we make within each of those areas, what would you say an average human lifespan should actually be?
According to science, if you were to live with what we know now, like I'm talking about the science of intermittent fasting, the science of longevity, human beings have the capacity to live to 150.
Wow.
Okay. Everything shifts 150 scientifically. I believe it's well and truly beyond that. I also believe that if you extend your life and you maintain a level of youthfulness and health for the next 20, there may actually be developments that assist in longevity beyond what we know. We don't want to focus on, I don't want to be 80 and old and decrepit and, walking around feeling like I'm dying full of pain. Okay. But that's not the point. We need to understand that there are long-lived cultures on the planet right now, men and women in their 90s and hundreds, still pain-free, walking around, climbing, hills every day and living their life. And when you ask them the question about their life, they're like, oh, I'm living the best years of my life. And they love their life and they don't want to give it up. Now, the main point to understand here is this. Let's just take 120 because we all know, we all agree, people can live to be 120. So if I were to completely shift and change and start to incorporate some of these longevity practices, which are enjoyable, which you'll actually learn to love, and it gives you more quality of life now. I love all the things that I do. I can't imagine not doing it because I'd be tired and worn out and beat up. If I just, let's say 120, if I could just change my lifestyle and get to be 120, now where's my midlife? 60. 60 is my midlife. Okay. Midlife is growth. Midlife is strength. Midlife is like growing and doing and being and building business and being around for kids. 60 would be midlife.
Wow.
Then maybe there's a bit of a decline over the next 60 years. The problem with 80 is at 40, you're at midlife. So by the time you're 60, you're like, shoot me and get me out of here. Okay. And we're all going to get there eventually, hopefully. If you're on this call, I believe you will be. But what do I want my quality of life to be now? If I push my longevity to 120, how am I going to feel at 45, 50? How am I going to feel as a grandpa? Okay. My grandson has a stepdad. He's strong and ripped. He's got uncles. He's got people all around him. And if you go ask my grandson, who's 5, and he lives in the United States, not even around me, who do you want to be like when you get older? He says, I want to be like grandpa. He sees me doing martial arts and using weapons and kicking and jumping and doing stuff. He's just like, I want to be like grandpa. And you know what? My great grandkids will say the same thing. My great grandchildren in the next 15 years, when he has kids, his kids growing up will be like, I want to be like grandpa. Because in 15 to 20 years from now, I'll be doing more.
Yes.
I'll be doing more than what I'm doing now because I'm just starting my training process in the physical and martial arts and dedicating my life to more longevity. Okay. And, if you've been around me, I talk about the potential for full regeneration of the body, ancient Egyptians, ancient Hindus and cultures, because they were teaching a process potentially of immortality. And I know that that word alone challenges people and sometimes people just shut off. But I really think that if we can shift the mindset into one of youthfulness and regenerating ourselves and living the longest, healthiest life possible, if you're searching for immortality, maybe you'll hit 120 or 150. And if you don't, so what? Because that search And that process of looking for immortality will probably be a life well lived, full of joy and full of good experiences and passion,
Absolutely.
and mission.
Absolutely. Tyler, what a couple of people have asked because you mentioned Sydney before, but Sydney isn't on your website. Is that a private event or can people go there? Quite a few people here from Sydney.
Yeah, so I will be there, but it's Kerwin Ray.
Oh yeah.
He has an event, I think, with like 300 people in business, and he's asked me to come in and do
Oh
a
yeah, that's
private.
the K2. Yeah, I used to be part of his K2. So no one can go to that. That's 50 grand a year.
Unless they're at K2, then I
Yeah,
probably
no.
won't see it.
$50,000 a year to be a K2. So perfect.
We change cities. We try to change each time. We didn't go to Adelaide last time.
Yeah,
We didn't do Brisbane last time, so we're doing Brisbane. We're doing Adelaide. We want to also go to New Zealand and potentially Tasmania, but we just need people to become aware of what we're doing and share it. Because if we have groups of people in different cities saying, "Hey, we want you to come here," not just one person,
absolutely.
then
What
we will. And of course, we'll do our own marketing and things, but we want to get as many places as we can. Just so you guys are aware, a live experience is completely, massively different.
Absolutely. I would encourage anyone that's on here from Sydney or from Tasmania or from wherever, just put it into perspective. Don't instantly let your brain go to, oh, I can't go, you're not coming to me. Like sometimes you need to participate in your own rescue. And getting on a plane, I mean, we live in Australia, it's a couple $100 and it's a couple of hours. And honestly, I really, really mean this. I really mean that, like, if that one investment, if that one devotion to your life and to your health and to your own longevity cost you $1,000 in a day of your time, all up with everything, hotel overnight, whatever, but that changed your life. Like, I mean, literally physically added years to your life, added memories to your children because you were, more able to live a quality life. I encourage you to lean into that edge and to lean into going, not, oh, I can't do it unless you come to me and feed me, on a silver platter. Sometimes, honestly, I
I've
really
had so many people as well. Like in every city, I've had people say I drove 10 hours to be here. And then afterwards, they're just like, that was so worth it. Thank you so much.
no
I've had people
question.
fly from overseas, come to these things. And I'm not asking you guys to fly overseas to come see me, but I have had so many people do that and say it's well worth it. You can always, of course, come to Adelaide, see Holly as well, get a good bite to eat somewhere, have a good time, make a
Absolutely.
vacation out of it for a couple of days.
Yeah, I really do encourage all of you. And I see Tanika just commented, she lives in Tasmania. She said she's going to come to Melbourne for sure. So, look, and if you are in Adelaide, if you're in Adelaide at the end of Tyler's event, we're going to be meeting downstairs in the lobby, and we're going to hang around with our conscious community and people that we're connected to. And if you're on this call, you're welcome to be part of that, whether you're in the conscious community or not. Like, come down, because like Tyler mentioned earlier, it's hard to fast or to make any changes. It's hard to heal in the environment that hurts you. And if you're living with all these negative Nancy's around you, oh, well, you're in a health kick, are you? And they just like so derogatory. It is hard. So what makes it easy is building a tribe of people around you, taking responsibility to put yourself in the environment that nourishes you, with people who lift you up, who support you, who cheer for you, who help you. And that's what we've created in the conscious community. So if you're feeling quite alone in this awakened world where you start being aware and conscious of every choice you're making in your life, and you kind of have to hide who you really are because everyone around you judges you, all you need is a new herd. We are pack animals. We do need to feel like we belong to a herd. And so I went and created the herd so that nobody felt like they were alone in this journey. So we will be meeting downstairs, and you are all welcome to hang out with us for whatever, an hour or two afterwards. We'll chat. We'll have, bite to eat or whatever it might be. So if you're in Adelaide, please make sure you meet us downstairs afterwards. Yeah, Tyler, we could talk all night, but I'll cut it off here, and I will say thank you. Just like such a real wholehearted thank you. I know Tyler has some exciting news. He's opening the Tolman Healing Hub, opens in Bali tomorrow. So let's cheer for Tyler's dreams.
Yeah.
Excited. I know, excited. So there's a lot more coming. Tyler and I are, having some pretty big conversations behind the scenes. What we've got planned for April is big, and then off the back of that, we're in discussions about something big happening in Australia, and I'm twisting Tyler's arm to bring something that he does in Bali to Australia for us. So be connected to us, because I'm telling you, this will be something that, I'm a good manifester. So it's happening. We've got to work out.
All the effect. It's happening.
It's already happened.
Love it.
So thank you, Tyler. Thank you for being here, for sharing your wisdom so willingly and so generously. And I will certainly see you in Adelaide. I know a lot of people here will. Make sure you use that coupon code. You're welcome if you need to leave, Tyler. I know you got a 1-year-old and family.
Thank you so much. Love you guys. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank
Have
you.
a beautiful night.
Thank you, Tyler. And to those of you here, I will, if you want to stay on the line for 2 minutes, I will quickly show you. Let me share the screen. If you want to be part of the conscious community so that you have this tribe. Oh shit, hang on, I'm doing the wrong thing. Wait a minute, give me 1 second. Wait a second. All right, let me quickly share this with you so that if you do want to be part of it, you've got all the details you need, and we'll also go through Tyler's, let me just skip this, skip. Is it coming up? Yeah, is it all good? Cool. All right, so here's the deal. TylerTolman.com/tour. That's where you go to book your tickets for Tyler. Use the coupon code The Holly Effect. Your ticket will only be $33 instead of $45, I think they normally are. And meet us in the lobby afterwards for connection and conversation. Okay, we'll be meeting in Adelaide, so get your babysitters to have the kids an hour longer so that we can all connect off the back of the vibe that we will have coming out of Tyler's event will be next level. All right, so let's all connect and make sure we build friendships and true genuine connections. The conscious community, here's the deal. It's $24 a month, right? Like it's one cup of coffee a week, $6 a week. It's almost a bit of a joke. And here's what you get. Every month we do a monthly workshop. Okay. We have a private Facebook community where you can post, ask questions, you can come in there to vent, and you're not going to get a whole bunch of just, random people. These are conscious people. We have an online portal where all of the replays you get access to. So as soon as you're part of the conscious community, even if you've never been part of it before, if you join tonight, you get access to all of the replays that we've done for the last 20 months. You have unlimited access to all of those. There's monthly Zoom calls, and what that means is this. So at the beginning of a month, we do a monthly workshop on whatever the topic is. And then 2 weeks later, we all jump online and we do a Zoom call. And that is we all go into breakout rooms. I give you all certain questions you have to answer with each other. So this isn't where you sit and listen all night. This is where you build friendships, you make connections, you share your gift and your business or your offering, whatever it is that you come with. We're very big on living a life of peace and passion and purpose. So we help you discover all that. And other people can share their gifts with you. So those Zoom calls happen 2 weeks after the monthly workshops. We do social events. We did an amazing bonfire night here in Adelaide at Bronwyn and Russell's Sanctuary last year, but we've got some more things coming up that we're about to announce. There's always conscious conversation on every topic you can imagine, okay? Exclusive events like when Tyler comes back in April, it will only be for the conscious community. That will not be, I'll put out publicly that it's happening, but to be part of it, you'll have to be part of the conscious community, all right? So it's exclusive. So if you go to thehollyeffect.com/the-conscious-community, here's an idea. Here's the topics we've covered that you've got access to on replay straight away. So these are like in order actually of where we did them. So personal values, money and consciousness, the masculine and the feminine, how to balance your life, 7 rewards of pain. You can see here subconscious identities. We had lots of guest speakers. Human design by the most amazing. She was a guest speaker at Purpose Retreat. So was Amy and Dave. They're all about relationships, codependence to interdependence in relationships specifically. And then we had the most amazing kinesiologist last month. Her name is Shana Pierce. She spoke at our Purpose Retreat a couple of weeks ago as well. So she's a kinesiologist, and she talked about the auric field, and she broke down the anatomy of the auric field. So you get access to that. If you join, you've got access to that replay. Like I said, we do Zoom calls mid-month. March workshop is next Sunday. So normally the workshops are the first Sunday of every month, but we shifted so that we could have Tyler tonight. And so we've pushed this one back. So my partner, Dave, is a tech guru. He's the save money genius. He thinks everyone's crazy and stupid for spending money on these dumbass phones like Samsungs and Apples and just spending money we don't need to spend. And he was on stage. He did a topic at Purpose Retreat a couple of weeks ago. We had 50 people at Purpose Retreat, and everyone could not get enough of him. We've had people that on the spot went and changed their phones and their plans and have phones that are better. Apple and Samsung just market well. They do not have the best products. They market well, and they give you phones with a whole bunch of apps already on them that pry into your privacy, and you don't even know. There's settings that automatically come with, and you have to go and unselect them all because you're giving away all your private details. So my partner is very much against all of that and against putting money in the big guys' pockets. So he's all about, if you can free up your cash and free up your time and do things more efficiently, then you've got more money to spend on your dreams, to invest on yourself, things like that, without even needing to earn more money, just changing the way you spend. And still getting amazing. I mean, he's a tech guru. He would not get a shitty product that isn't like the best ever. So anyway, he'll be talking about mobiles and plans and password managers, electricity and internet providers, credit cards, all of these things next month to help you free up. We had some people that are already saving, after what he shared at Purpose Retreat, $1,000 a year, $1,000 a year, just because they changed their mobiles, and they're still on the Telstra network. So anyway, he'll share it all next Sunday. You'll have to be part of the conscious. If you're not part of the conscious community, you can come to that for $10. So you can either be in the conscious community, get access to everything for $24, and it includes that workshop. Or if you don't want to, or if you want to come and just see what it's like, you can go to theholyeffect.com/events and book in for that one event only. And it's $10 in that case, but you don't get any follow-up or any conversation or anything afterwards. You just get to come to the workshop. All right. So go to the conscious community. If you are interested, and go to Tyler's website, get your spot, get yourself in front of him, put yourself in the room, absorb the vibe, like open yourself up to a truth that is often not very comfortable, but it is phenomenally life-changing. All right. Does anyone have any questions off the conscious conflict? Was good. Did you watch that, Hales? Yeah, cool. Awesome. I'm glad. Conscious conflict. Yes, we did that 6 months ago or so. He's coming to Perth first. He's Tyler. I'm just reading all the comments now. Mel, he is coming to Perth. He's coming there first, and I think it's on the 8th of March. But you'll find all the details on his website. On 9th of March in Scarborough. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Hayley. Excellent. Did anyone have any other questions? I'm happy to answer anything if you do. Otherwise, we'll close this off for tonight. I love that so many of you were here and really engage. It was so good to see the questions that were coming through. There's so many things that obviously we can cover, but in the private conversation that we do in April, and especially now that lots of you know him and I can see what you're all interested in and what everyone wants to know. If you're in the conscious community, at the beginning of April, I'm going to be putting up a post in that private group. I'm going to be saying, if there was anything you could ask Tyler, what would you want it to be? And you can all we're going to have the whole month to build like a conversation around it. And we are definitely going to be talking about detoxing from particularly the COVID vaccines, but, from all vaccines. And, how some people feel like they have to do it to have their jobs or send their kids to childcares and all those things. And those are, life disrupting decisions. And so we're going to talk about, if you're in a situation where you can't just not vaccinate, for example, but you wish you didn't have to, what can you do to support yourself so that your choices are your choices and there's no judgment? For whatever reason, that might feel like it's the right choice for you, and we don't judge that. But there definitely are ways for you to support yourself, even if and when you stay on medication or whatever. It is sad when they make rules that, you can't have access to childcare unless this and that. And, if you're not on this medication, I saw you say earlier, Russ, that if you don't stay on your medication for your seizures, for your epilepsy, that you'll lose your license. Like, see, they're like, how dare you heal? How dare you get to a place where you're so good it will never happen again. It's like the medical industry says, once it's happened, you can't ever heal it. And if you come off medication, we'll rob you of your license. That's pretty bullshit. So anyway, after school care. Yeah, right. It is hard. I get it. It is hard. It is hard. It is hard sometimes. But you know what? Even if you can't be perfect, just be better. Just in every opportunity you've got, just do better. If you can't do perfect, just do better. Okay. And yeah, we'll open up this discussion even more next month. All right. But in the meantime, Sort Your Life Out is happening next weekend, next Sunday night. So if you are interested in joining that, either join the conscious community or go to theholyeffect.com/events and you can join just for $10. And if you like it enough, you can join after that. But if you're interested in watching any of the replays from the past, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Let me say this: once you join, it's $24 a month. We manage your own subscription. We don't want to make it hard for you to cancel that. To be honest, we don't even want your email asking us to do it for you. It's $24. We don't need your $24. It's you have full control over it yourself. So you can turn your subscription on and off however you like, whenever you like. It's not some bullshit long hidden link that you can't find that's too much of a hassle to cancel. Okay? We don't do that. We're authentic, we're open, we're real. If you like it, stay. And if for any reason, it doesn't resonate, please leave. Please don't keep a resentful energy in the most potent conscious community you will ever find. And I can tell you, we had 8 guest speakers plus Dave and I at Purpose Retreat a couple of weeks ago. And every single one of those speakers, every single one of them said they have never, ever, even their own audiences are not as conscious as ours. They're like, this is the most conscious audience I have ever, the questions that came up, the conversations, the connection between everybody. You could basically call it a cult because we're all so freaking connected. And, we laughed about the fact that, some husbands say that their wives are going to Holly's cult, but I'm proud of that. So whatever, it's good, right? So we'd love to have you as part of it if that's what you feel like you want to do. If not, hopefully, if you're in Adelaide, I see you on Monday night next week, I think it is, at Tyler's event. Love to catch up in person. If you can't stay long or anything, at least come and say hi. At least, come give me a hug or something like that. Tell me who you are. If we've never met before, come and tell me you were on this call. I'd love to know. All right. Otherwise, stay amazing and we'll be in touch. Bye.